Hi. How to add WebP support to Pop! OS Linux 22.04. Okay, let's get started. Here's my Pop right here, and I'm going to add WebP support to my Pop! OS Linux 22.04 installation right here. Okay, that's my Pop installation. Now, a little background on WebP real quick. It's a little new to me, so I get caught up on it too a little bit. So a couple of words about WebP support. You know, it's surprisingly easy to enable WebP support in POP LTS 22.04 LTS, letting us see image thumbnails in the file manager and to open WebP images in our default image viewer. Okay. And all this is made, and that's good. All this is normally, you know, I'm usually, you know, pretty much what's on my radar is pretty much, you know, everybody else's, like, you know, PNG, JPEGs, that kind of thing. WebP is kind of new to me, but it's in that same family, and it's made possible, but because of the wonderful open source library called WebP- Pixbuff-loader library. So once you have that library installed on your system, then you can go ahead and you know, once you've installed it and you've restarted your system, then you could you know, look at the WebP images in your file manager and get the thumbnails in your you can get the thumbnails in the file manager and open WebP images in your default image viewer. Okay. So before it was kind of hard to do, but now thankfully a few things have happened that make it easier to do. Especially, I think it was a little bit easier on Fedora and Arch, and it was a little bit maybe harder on it wasn't easy to install that library on Pop or Ubuntu, but there's been some changes since then. And the change that happened is that there's a dedicated third-party PPA which contains that library package, and we can use that PPA to install that package so that we can have WebP support on Pop and on Ubuntu and Pop systems. This PPA does the PPA is a personal package archive, so it's not really, essentially it's not like an official repo. It's kind of a, you know, community, maybe an individual developer even. So be careful, because you don't know what's in there, because chances are it's not you know, curated, and there's not a lot of eyes on it. Essentially, it's not really a, you know, quote unquote official. So kind of a third party. Anyway, this PPA does the hard working, you know, for us, making the WebP, you know, library available for simple installation on Pop and Ubuntu. So a couple of quick steps, won't take very long. We're gonna add a PPA URL to our apt cache to our sources list. Then we're gonna update the apt cache, and then we're gonna use apt to install that library. And then we're going to see if we're able to, you know, have WebP support in our Pop installation. Okay, so we'll be back with the next command. Okay, here's the command. We're going to use, you know, sudo, and we're going to use apt, this command here, to add this repository URL. PPA. This is the repository we're going to add to our sources list, or in our repo, to our repo. It's going to be in our repo manager. If we look in the repo manager now, just it's good to get used. It's good to get familiar with your repo manager in Pop. It goes through the Pop shop here, extra sources, and you can just quickly browse over, and you see there's nothing that pertains to WebP. Or the WebP, you know, the WebP library. So nothing with WebP here now. So when we're done, it'll be here, and then APT can use that to install the library. Now, before this library came about, you had to build this library from source for Ubuntu-based distros, and I guess it just wasn't very easy to do. You can still do that now. You can still build it from source if you want. I'll post the URL to the GitHub repo for the source code, so you can git clone it, build it, compile it, and install it from source. Okay, but for now we're just going to do the PPA. Okay, so once we keyed in the URL and the command and whatnot for the PPA to be added to for that repository to be added to the APT cache, we're going to go ahead and enter on that. And we'll see what happens. This is all new to me too. So let's give this a quick read. Okay. It's just telling us what it's going to do. Everything looks good. We're going to add the repo. Okay, so we're going to enter on that, and it's going to add that repo to our sources list essentially. And then we're going to go ahead and verify that it's been added. But make note that even once you've added the repo to your sources list, okay, we'll check it a couple places. We'll check the repo manager here in PopShop. Okay, here it is down here, repo manager. Okay, now it adds it on the fly. If we look, we'll see something pertaining to WebP here. At least we should see something. Okay, here, that's not it. Okay, here it is. So this is what was added to our sources list. See, this wasn't here before. Okay, we added that, and then of course in the terminal there was also verification of that as well. If you scroll up and down, if you eyeball it real quick, you should see something in here for WebP as well. Okay, now that's a good start, but keep in mind, at this point, it's not ready for use yet by APT. It's been added, but we have to update APT, otherwise it won't know that URL exists. Even though it's been added to the sources list, APT still has to be updated, so the cache gets updated, so it actually knows that it is here. Even though it's here, we know it's there. APT doesn't know it's there. So keep that in mind, that you're going to have to do an extra step to make APT actually see that it's there, so that it could pull from it. Okay, so here's the command that we're going to use. Yeah, it's a standard APT update chain with an APT upgrade command, just like you would run every day to check for system and application updates and upgrades and whatnot. This one's not going to really be in play for us. It's going to be more the update. I think that this is the main one here, so that APT updates its cache, so it becomes aware of that PPA URL that we added to the sources list, so then we can use APT to install the library. Okay, so we'll go ahead and do this step here. And then once this is done, APT knows that PPA URL exists, and we can install the library from it. Okay, again, if you want to take one more quick look here for anything related, here it is. So here's that URL, the WebP URL we added. Okay, now APT knows about that URL, and we could use APT to actually go ahead and install it. Okay, let's go ahead and install the library. APT install. Here's that library. This is from the URL, the PPA. That's the package that we're going to install here. And you can see I wasn't prompted for anything. It went ahead and downloaded it, unpacked it, installed it. Okay, so the library has been installed. Now I don't have a WebP image on my system to go ahead and open it in my default image viewer. But you could do that. I guess GIMP would be GIMP would be one of the image viewers that you would probably use to open and view a WebP file that's on your system. But we can let's see what happens when I go into, this is Nautilus. I know it says files, but I do believe this is actually Nautilus. So I have to poke around to see if WebP support has been added here. I have to poke around to see how to actually bring it up. But at this point, I didn't have any errors. Now, mind you, this is for POP 2204. I don't know what would happen if you had. Let's see, did POP skip 2210? I think they might have skipped that. So yeah, that doesn't exist. So that PPA should work with this version of POP 2204. Of course, we're waiting to see what's going to happen with 2304. But I believe they skipped 2210 so they can work on other things. So you probably wouldn't have that anyway. And if you had 2210, this might not work. I'm not sure. Because the release file is mainly for, this is specifically targeted for 22.04. But as you can see, I had no problem, installing the PPA, updating the cache, and installing the library. Now it's just a matter of, when I end the video, I'm going to go ahead and test it myself with a WebP file, so I can see if I can open it in my image viewer, and if I can get a preview in my Nautilus file manager. Okay, the main takeaway here was that there was no errors here. Now I know that some people were mentioned. I know of some people that said that they tried this particular PPA and that it was deprecated for Pop OS. That doesn't really seem to be the case. As long as you're on 2204, I think it should be okay. Okay, so that's how to add WebP support to POP Linux 22.04. And I thank you for watching, and I look forward to your comments and feedback. My name is Paul, and I'm the lead research technician at the How to Linux Research Labs. Thank you.